All right, everyone. Welcome back to the next edition of the Mark You Down for a Cup of Joe podcast. I'm Mark.
I'm Joe.
And today we had the privilege of going to good old Buffalo Wild Wings to catch the Chicago Bears take on the Green Bay Packers at home. And Joe, being the biggest Green Bay Packers fan, we're going to defer to you to start off, but we're just going to talk about some of our general thoughts and impressions on Thursday night's kickoff game. So, Joe, what was your impressions from the game?
I'm going to break this up a little bit by teams. I'm going to go ahead and start off with my Green Bay Packers and kind of what I saw from them. So the first quarter had me a little bit concerned because they had negative yards of offense, actually. They really weren't doing much on offense. They were trying to run the ball. It wasn't getting anywhere. They were calling a lot of screen passes, a lot of quick passes, which I really didn't like. They were trying to get the ball to Jimmy Graham and a couple of the tight ends on some of those flat routes, and it just wasn't working. I didn't like that. Then the second quarter starts, and we started to see the offense come alive a little bit with a nice 4-play drive. Aaron Rodgers hit up Geronimo Allison for a nice 3-yard gain, and they were able to punch it in with a touchdown pass to Jimmy Graham. But throughout the game, that was the only the real drive, really solid drive that they put together. As much as I love Aaron Rodgers, he just seemed a little bit slow this game. He was getting pressured a whole lot. I know he was sacked 6 or 7 times, but he really wasn't getting out of the pocket that well, and he was just a little bit off on some of his throws. And I'm gonna say that's more of it being the first game. He didn't get any preseason action. He wasn't able to really see any live action except in practice, and that's completely different when you're from going up against an opposing team. But he seemed a little bit off, and I'm thinking we're starting to see age and injuries start to catch up on Aaron Rodgers a little bit. But on the good side, he still was making throws down the field. He still was putting the ball where he needed to on some of those throws. And the defense played really well. The secondary really did a good job this game. They did a good job against the run. The pass rush wasn't there. They did get Trubisky a couple of times. They had a couple of missed sacks where they just weren't able to bring him down. But I liked what we saw out of the defense. So, all in all, I'm not too upset with this game for the Packers. I do think there's room for improvement, but I think it's, a good start. It's always a good day. It's always a good day when you beat the team that shall not be named down in Chicago.
So since you kind of talked about the Packers, I kind of agree with you a lot on most of it. I think my biggest impression on the Packers, I'm just going to leave it at this, is that Matt LaFleur isn't that good of a play caller, and I think Aaron Rodgers, we're starting to see age catch up to him and all those injuries catch up to him, and he's not going to be the same player moving forward, at least in my opinion, from what I saw. So and then the defense for the Packers, I think, has a really great secondary. I thought they were going to have a great secondary coming in, and it looks like this is going to happen. Their pass rush needs to improve.
And just another thing that stood out to me is they didn't really seem like they were playing aggressive this game. It seemed really laid back. It really seemed kind of conservative with a lot of the calls, lots of dump offs. They really weren't pushing the ball down the field, which is something that we've seen the Packers do a whole lot these past few seasons. And like you were saying, I'm not the biggest fan of Matt LaFleur. I'm not liking his play calling. I'm not liking the offense he set up in Green Bay.
Yeah. But anyway, so we talked enough about the Packers. Let's move on to the Chicago Bears. Let's start with that defense. Just as advertised, the Bears are all over the field. They're getting a ton of pressure. They're shutting down the run for the most part. Their secondary is good. I don't think it's great, but I think it benefits from that front seven, and they're going to be here all year. Nothing much has changed there. So they have the player who shall not be named on their defensive front leading that charge, and it looks like he's going to do pretty well for him for a second year. But, I'm going to move over to the Bears offense because I think that's where the problems are on this team. And you, Joseph, know more than anyone that I am not the biggest Mitchell Trubisky fan in the world. I don't think he's that good of a quarterback. He has some good tools, but I just don't think he can play the position very well or at a high level. And a lot of those inconsistencies in his game came to bite him in this one, where Yes, there were times where he would make some nice throws down the field outside the pocket, but if he was relegated to stay in the pocket, he was a below average pocket passer. He wasn't really able to get anything going on offense. And I think the Packers understood that. They took away the run really well that game, and made Mitchell Trubisky try to beat him, and he wasn't able to do it. So I'm not the biggest Mitchell Trubisky fan. I think that's going to be the biggest hindrance to that team is their offense, and potentially they're going to be a really bad team because of it. I mean, I think the most jarring comparison I can tell you or stat that I drew from this game is that Mitchell Trubisky dropped back 45 times to throw the ball. He had 45 attempts, and they only had 3 points of offense. And I think that just kind of shows you that I don't think this guy can get it done long term. And I think last year might have been a little bit more fluky. This year, now that they have more tape on him and that offense, I think it's going to be a little bit easier to stop them. We're going to see a lot of those deficiencies in Mitchell Trubisky's game. So, yeah, there's that. Joseph, do you have anything to add about the Bears and what you saw from them?
You know, one of the things that kind of stood out to me, we're going to go back to Mitchell Trubisky. We're going to stay on that topic, I should say, is he had a lot of time to throw back there. You know, the Packers pass rush was not the best against them. Yeah, they got back there a couple of times, but he was having 3, 4, even 5 seconds on a lot of his throws, and he wasn't really doing much with a lot of those. Yeah, he had a couple of really nice throws, but other than that, he really didn't move the ball down the field a whole lot. And he only put up 3 points after throwing the ball 45 times, which is not very good. If you're throwing the ball 45 times, you're hoping for 30 or 40 points at that point.
Yeah. I think Mitchell Trubisky, the biggest thing with him is that he almost doesn't really have a feel for the quarterback position. He almost feels more like an athlete playing quarterback than a quarterback who is an athlete, you know. I mean, I think what's missing is his ability to know the flow of the game and really assess every play just with a feel basis. Like, for example, I think there are times when he checks down, he probably should have been looking more deep to be aggressive instead of taking that easy check down right there, and vice versa. It's just, and he doesn't know necessarily when to roll out all the time. I think Matt Nagy's probably told him he needs to stay in the pocket and make some throws, and he did that, and he wasn't really able to feel his way out or really feel when he's needed to break the pocket. So made some great throws, but it's just Mitchell Trubisky. I don't have a lot of trust in him, and seriously, if this Bears team can't get Mitchell Trubisky figured out this year, I think they have the potential to win 6 or maybe even 4 games. I know it sounds extreme, but I think it's that big of a problem.
And that kind of leads into a question that I was about to ask you, Mark. So after what we've seen from this game from both the Packers and the Bears, what do you kind of see their ceiling, their outlook for this season for both of them?
So I'm gonna say that I think it's gonna be a little bit better for both of these teams. Kind of like you were saying, Aaron Rodgers didn't really take many preseason snaps, neither did Mitchell Trubisky, to be fair there. But I think the ceiling, I think 10 wins for both of these teams. I mean, they were very similar teams on the field today in terms of talent. I just think Aaron Rodgers had one drive. Both have good defenses. Bears have an elite defense. The Packers have a better quarterback than the Bears too. I think they're both 10-win teams as their ceiling. Their floor, I mean, Packers probably 6 games, Bears maybe 4, So, they both have the same chances for success. If I was to put money on it, I would imagine that the Packers are going to end up doing better than the Bears this year.
I think both of their success is going to ride on both of those men playing quarterback for them. You got Aaron Rodgers back there and Mitchell Trubisky. Their success is both going to, the Packers and the Bears' success is going to ride on the arms of their quarterbacks.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And with Aaron Rodgers especially, he was going up against the number 1 defense in the NFL. And, that's probably the hardest thing he'll see all year. The defense are going to get easier. And I think that Green Bay secondary is going to be able to hold other opposing quarterbacks to lower numbers, and Aaron Rodgers can win you some games. So that's what we think about Thursday Night Football. It was actually a really fun game to watch, even though it was a defensive struggle. A lot of interesting things came out of it, and we learned a little bit about these teams. But anyways, that's going to finish our podcast for tonight. I am Mark.
I'm Joe.
And we are signing off. Please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe.